So, Adam, so how did it go today? Did you think of our first World Summit of SDG influencers?
I mean, really so amazing to see everybody come together. I mean, social media is great and it's important. And this actually could be considered a dimension of social media because we are all at our computers, and I do talk about that in the book. But to get everyone together and to hear from all these different stories was indeed incredibly inspiring. If you give me a few minutes, I could try to share a few of the nuggets that I was able to glean from these conversations. Should I go ahead with that?
Yes, please.
Okay. First off, for everyone who's still here, and it's amazing that so many people have stayed this long. I know people are busy, but just to thank everyone for sharing their Saturday so much of their Saturday on this Juneteenth, the 19th of June, 2021, which also happens to be my mother's birthday up in Canada. So happy birthday to my mom. She's 74 today, I believe. But happy birthday to my mom, because that's a great thing to have it on this day. We will make these videos available, I believe, on the ConnectAID.com site. Thank you. Through social media. And to summarize, there's so much that we're shared here today, many inspiring words. To digest them all, our team will summarize them and make them so the key messages available, a summation of the day available on the ConnectAID website. Thanks to Gail Mowgli and Helen Clark for joining me at the opening. One thing that resonated, I think, with me and then throughout the entire day was Helen's words that every voice counts and to make yours count. And today we heard a lot of these valuable voices, incredible voices, and meaningful voices. Deborah Rue said have meaningful conversations, and I think that is very much what transpired here today. But with Ulrika Modera, Ananya Kamboj, Boaz Paldi, Daniel Naujux, Helen Lee, Felix Dodds, Richard Munang, Melissa Sasic, Sandrika Bahadur, Kent Page, Jeffrey Chia came through on video. We didn't see the whole video, but we'll watch it. We'll all watch it afterwards. Thomas Gloria, Patrick Walsh, Shruti Kapoor. Right? I'm a huge fan of safety chat. JD, I won't say your full name because I know that's hard on your ears. Jennifer Williams, I'm a huge fan of this teaching SDGs because it needs to happen. We need to all learn about the SDGs. Antonio Vera, Deborah Rue, Sally Weaves. Some of the messages came through as interacting with the community as a person, not just an account, but to be genuine. And when asked, I remember Ulrika was asked at one point about the SDGs being the UN's SDGs. And she highlighted that she would hope the UN is everyone's UN, that the charter starts with we the people, and indeed it does. But the SDGs, indeed, we need a whole of society approach and much broader ownership. We all need to own the SDGs and find our unique contribution, our unique, so SDG talent, I used to say, hashtag SDG talent, and find our way to contribute. Felix Dodds, who I've known since the Earth Summit, we talked about that, in 1992, and the first Taking Action book, Taking Action for You and Your Community. When I wrote the first draft of that for the United Nations Environment Program, he was one of the experts flown in. At the time, he was the head of UNA for the United Kingdom, and he was flown down to Nairobi and to critique the text and to help me improve it. There were like 20 people. We sat in a horseshoe, and I was there with Elizabeth Dowdswell, at the time the executive director of the UN Environment Program, to make that text bigger. And it's nice to see that now that this has evolved into a Taking Action online, to have Felix involved was really great. He gave us an intriguing political run-up and process that led to the SDGs. Because sometimes, we reinvent the wheel, and we all, the SDGs is kind of like the only cookie in the kitchen, but there's actually been many, recipes tried. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, but they've all evolved into what we have today. But a lot of politics, and some things were cut out that could have been that should have stayed in with the SDGs. And so when we read it, the SDGs, although it's a fantastic framework, it's not, we couldn't even say it's the Bible, because the Bible also went through a political process, and some things like the Gnostic Gospels were cut out. And so all of these documents, we see them as inspiration, but not as the, final word on any of it. But we all have something to contribute in whatever that is, and wherever we can find to help other people. Richard Munang said that climate change is and sort of Boaz Paldi and Richard, they kind of resonated well together. Boaz was saying something about the, giving people voice and urgency, and that the pandemic sort of proved that when we work together, we put our heads together, we can actually come up with solutions. When we are together, instead of being off on our own individual stars in the sky, trying to do our best, but by coming together, we become an unstoppable movement. And Richard Munang said, okay, we came together, we almost solved this COVID-19 crisis. All the minds, scientific, the laboratories to come up with these vaccines. But there's another looming pandemic on the horizon, and that's climate change. It's already affecting a lot of people. And it's like the early days of the pandemic where we started hearing about what was happening in China, and then Italy got hit hard. Remember, everybody going into the hospital and people started dying and this fever. That's kind of what's going on with climate change now. And so Richard was really, highlighting that we need to take the same kind of concerted, collaborative action that we did with COVID-19. We need to take that into climate change, because we're not there yet. The solutions, there's a lot of misinformation, but we need to be vigilant. There's a lot of, like there was information about COVID. There's a lot of this, misinformation and fake news going on about, it's not really a crisis, and a lot of these are funded by industries that have vested interest in the status quo with the sale and production and consumption of carbon-based fuels, for example. So Boaz said, working together. Oh, wait a second. Okay, so one thing Melissa Sassio, also known for a long time, is find your passion and then show up. And she was definitely sharing her passion and this personal story of what happened with her kids in Tunisia. Daniel Naujok, I think, has 3 categories of online action. Yes, we have the alarmist bullhorn with news of the problem, and that's great. In some cases, people need to hear about it, but he advised moving beyond that. Curating information. That means interpreting information, putting it in your voice, sharing it with targeted communities who could benefit from that. Being sometimes taking information from one platform. If you are in LinkedIn and you don't see it in Twitter, you can take it and cite the source perhaps, or regurgitate it and share it with other people. Keep the word moving. The last one, he said, we have alarm to the bullhorn, the curating information, and then meaningful conversation and dialogue on important issues. It's the 3rd category of online action, and I fully agree with that. That's been one theme that has recurred throughout the full day. Helen Lee, the pandemic has widened the wealth gap and the digital divide. Indeed, it has. It has exposed a lot of cracks in our civilizations around the world, of the haves and have-nots, and the have-nots have grown in number. She just cited the enormous number of marginalized and disadvantaged kids, even in affluent areas, who do not have access to the internet and therefore slip behind in their education during this pandemic. And that's just, say, in Singapore and Hong Kong, but you look at countries around the world, it's been a problem. We had a session on partnerships for the goals where Kent Page of Education Cannot Wait said education is central to so many of the SDGs, and he's right. He held up a soccer ball or football and said that was front and center, because we need education to overcome, for gender equality, of course. We need to educate those people holding others back in society. For poverty, for a lot of the goals, we need that education, SDG 4. Stephen Pierce asked the question about, that's one thing I didn't come up, that was in the chat, that Uyghurs should be, how we can help prevent from the ethnic cleansing. That's come up actually in my book. I talk about a young woman whose parents immigrated to the US from Afghanistan. He used TikTok. She started her video with a makeup tutorial, one of the more superficial ways that people are using, and important, and nothing wrong with it, but she exemplified how you can do both. So she started with a makeup tutorial, and then she went right into, go online, find out who the Uyghurs are, find out what they're doing. And I wanted to say that to Stephen Pierce because he posted that in the chat. There are a lot of people, including kids, who are online in desperate situations. This is something Kent Page, I think it was Kent Page. A lot of people in desperate situations, including kids who are displaced or in war. They're in the middle of war and they're online. He said, if you can do anything, reach out to them and give them hope. They can struggle and they can get by another day or two, even longer. Let them know the world is on their side. I wrote that down. That really resonated with me. Jennifer Williams of Teach SDGs. I'm a huge fan of hers. 85 million teachers in the world. That's a massive community and really influencing the next generations. And we need to support these 85 million teachers in any way we can, every way we can. So she's talked about many good things. Start on Twitter, that her community grew, and she emphasized purpose. Her movement started with a hashtag. When they went hashtag Teach SDGs, the community really took off. But she said a few tips. Look at your profile, headers, hashtags, make yourself searchable. Add a hashtag to your profile. Be responsive. So when people reach out to you, engaging, be responsive. Celebrate others' successes. Share info that is accurate, that is built on science and data. That's very important. That came up in a few of the different speakers today, is the need for informed science, informed policy, to double check, triple check. So I think that also Boaz said he was a journalist, and how as a journalist with Reuters, even he was in Israel and there was an earthquake, he couldn't report there was an earthquake. You had to get other sources. But we don't do that. Facebook, we don't have those checks and balances anymore. and people can just make up and they send it out and it gets shared. We know that that fake news travels 6 times faster on social media than it does through traditional media. JD, I love this advice. JD is, he said, never try to save neighbor. I'm not even close, but I'm sure I'm going to get a tweet.
Good.
So he said, be kind. Yeah, like what he said.
Right, JD, say acknowledge.
JD, acknowledge. So JD is be kind, be genuine, and be informed. Again, getting back to what Jennifer was saying, be informed, make sure that what you share is actually accurate. And another thing he said, very good, practice what you preach. So if you're out there preaching about, say, climate change, don't spend a lot of time on airplanes or gas guzzling vehicles, or, practice what you preach. So you're genuine, so your sincerity and your genuine commitment to your purpose, your mission comes through, and people will resonate with that. Shruti Kapoor, I'm a huge fan of hers, another one of my idols and role models of safety chat. So Jen said together, don't get bogged down in the number of followers or likes. And I think that's important, because while we're all looking for tips on how to be more popular on social media, let's focus on the content and how we connect with others, and not look so many on how many followers, how many people are liking. Because also one thing, I'm trying to remember who said, was it Deborah was saying about mental health. We start focusing too much on that, and we'll think that, nobody loves me, that all this work and I'm committed to this cause, yet I'm not appreciated. We need to encourage one another. That's another thing important in your community. People, encourage them, because we all need to be encouraged in the trenches of this SDG achievement. I would just say it's a war, a battle, because we want to stay on the positive, but sometimes it is, and we run up against a lot of adversity. We run up against a lot of setbacks, and we need to be encouraged. So sometimes the best thing that you can do is give people hope and encourage one another. Your SDG warriors, your eco warriors out there, people who are on the front lines defending those with disabilities and reminding people of the 1.1 billion. We learned this from I'm trying to remember from Antonio Santos, Sally Eves, and Deborah about the 1.1 billion people, and go to Deborah's new organization to empower and give voice to that over 1 billion people who are, I would say, struggling, living with a disability, because a disability, when we all together as a community, becomes an ability. As I found, and by giving voice and understanding some of the disabilities, are actually empowering features of a person's existence in this life, and can actually strengthen other ability. They become, ability, like superpowers in a way. That's my own words I'm saying. I didn't hear that, but she inspired me in that way. So don't rush. So something also came from both Deborah, Antonio, and Sally. Don't rush. Take your time. Build a community that you can learn from and that is useful. A real community. Occasionally, Twitter does a purge, and you see sometimes so-called influencers that can drop from 80 or 100 to 100,000. Actually, when you're really high, I don't think Twitter affects too much, but you see people drop. But no, you want to connect with the community. You don't want to look like you're popular. So Sally says, don't just reach out on the day of your cause, right? So sometimes, we say it's a day for, people with disabilities. Don't just reach out. Reach out to 365-day activity. Pursue your passion and communicate and reach out and engage 365 days on that passion. And also expand your, this came from, I think it was Sally said, other platforms to reach your target audiences. One thing that Shruti said that she uses, and know which channel you can use. She uses for images, but she uses Twitter really to engage with safety chat. But sometimes some areas can be personal with your family and friends. So Deborah, yes, bad things are happening on the internet, but ignore them. I like that, Deborah. There are bad things happening out there, but don't let them. Or you might get bullied. There might be a troll. Just ignore them. And if they get really bad and you see them harassing people, report them. That's one thing that came up a few times. Is that we need to see, if we see something, say something and stand up and do something. And this also came through. Sometimes we complain about the social media platforms, the algorithms. They just want to make money. They just want to get eyeballs. Yes, but they also need us, because they need our eyeballs. And so they need us as much as we need them. So Deborah was saying, reach out to them, enable to enable us to, what I'm trying to say, social media, they're trying to figure out how to enable us to have more meaningful conversations. And that was sort of new to me, because I was also on the pessimistic side. So no, they just need us so they can make money. But yeah, they want us to have meaningful conversations on their platform so they can make money. So yeah, they're commercially driven, but we can use that to our advantage. Well, that's important, so push back on them, let them know, and they're responsive because they need us. Gail in the end sort of was sharing also some, so we went into this really useful, extending this session on sort of social media tips. She did share some really practical tips on LinkedIn. Reach out, don't be shy. People in your professional sector, you can search on that and invite people in. Everybody wants to connect and build out this community of practice within your sector, like-minded activists. She shared an important trick about posting with links. Post without the link, go in and edit and stick the link back in. At the very end, we had a very inspiring session. I love listening to Fanny and Mamta and Elise Bokel to share their important work with us. And that's the final message that we have, is that ConnectAID is more than this World Summit of social media influencers for the SDGs. Is that, and it's been sort of together for a while, and it's starting to grow more. They connect, givers. It's a way that people can contribute from small amount, medium to large amounts, where the donation goes completely to helping important organizations, like FXB India and about, ISS and these, and many more. And there are many more joining all the time, where the overhead, now it's zero, so the money goes right through. And she wants to keep it that way. And she can keep it that way if she gets, others supporting her platform, then it now enables people who want to support those who need support. And so we heard some very good examples of that. And to close with a quote from Elise Buckle, is that together we can change the world through radical collaboration. And that's what I'd like to see more, is, taking action online with radical collaboration to, for the SDGs, for any other framework that we call as human rights, disabilities, everything, whatever touches you and affects you and you want to make a difference, we can do that. And ConnectAID as a platform is one way to do that. It's a great way to connect your passion with a purpose.
Thank you.
Was okay?
Thank you so much, Adam. Yes, there's the journalist in you is still there. So I just put on the screen a picture. So all the people that you see here, this is us. This is ConnectAID. This is all of us and where we come from. So we have an amazing team with people from all around the world. And I would like to personally thank those that have been extremely active. So I would like to thank, of course, those who are with me on stage, but also Tim Black. Tim Black has been amazing as social media manager. Manon Bikal, who did all the videos. Rashida I can't say your name, Rashida Rishdui. Lila Jade, Tanya Kinney, Mike Hansen, of course, there's Florian Mauvoisin, Catherine Serafina, and then, of course, we have Federico Galati and Dylan Rains. Federico Galati just recently joined our board of directors, because such a conference like this cannot be done without IT, and we really had great backup. And so I would like to thank everyone. Arsalan is also here, and you can see him in the images that we have here. Thank you, everyone that it belongs to ConnectAID's group. Thank you to everyone for joining ConnectAID as a member. Go to connectaid.com, register as a member. We'll have your email, and you'll stay tuned to the things that we do. What we do is meaningful. And we do it for you. We do it with you, and together we're an unstoppable force. So thank you very much, and please now go to the networking session, which is it's right there. Mine is in French. It's written réseautage. I guess for you it's written networking. So we'll all go there, and then every 3 minutes we'll have someone new, and that's now the time for all of us to meet in person. 2 by 2, and I look forward to meeting all the 67 people that are still here. So now is the time for randomly to meet each other. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.